Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? It's a beautiful morning. It's cool. It's in the low 70s, and I got the window open right next to me, and the birds are singing, and there's a few jonquil blooming outside, and it's beautiful. This is a blanket I've had since I was a little bitty girl. Our neighbor made this for me. This is a quilted kitty blanket. And here is the same design on the other side. Mrs. Mary Murphy made this for me. And they were the sweetest neighbor. She and her husband, they used to take care of us when my parents had other business. So, in keeping with the kitty theme, I thought I would read you The Curious Little Kitten by Linda Hayward. I know I've read you one or two of these, usually about the kitten's Christmas. I'm going to adjust my camera so I don't have to hold the book up in the air and read you The Curious Little Kitten. And this is a golden storytime book. In fact, this is the exact book I read when I was little. You can see it's very worn, but it is one of the favorites, and I'll warn you, there is drawings on it because children and crayons. Sorry, I sneezed a minute ago. They do not go well with books. So some of these pictures will look drawn on it, but it's still a favorite. Look at that beautiful cat. I had a cat very similar. In fact, we had two cats that were similar, but they were not gray. This is a female kitty. They were orange with stripes, and the one original cat was orange with stripes, and the next one they called him a buff tabby, and he was less orange but more brown. So this is probably something I did, so I apologize. There is going to be pictures in this book like that. But without further ado, let's read The Curious Little Kitten. Once upon a time, there was a curious little kitten. She lived in a nice sunny yard behind a nice cozy house. The little kitten's yard was surrounded by fences. There was a high wooden fence on one side, a low wooden fence on the other side, and in the back was a red brick wall. See, there's some more crayon drawing right here on the fence. Needs some repair. At first, the curious little kitten was only curious about the things that were inside her yard. She was curious about the flowers and the birds and the garden hose. These are dandelions. That's probably a Baltimore Oriole. Looks very similar. There's some more crayon drawing. She was curious about the clothesline and the wheelbarrow and the rose bushes. Sometimes it was fun being so curious, and sometimes it was very uncomfortable. Here's some more crayon drawing. I told you I was a naughty little girl. By and by, the little kitten became curious about the things that were outside her yard. She began to wonder what was on the other side of those three fences. One day, she peeked through a hole in the high wooden fence. She could see another yard, just like hers, but in that yard, there was a small house. What kind of house do you think that was? There's all kinds of crayon drawing across this page. The curious little kitten just had to find out what was inside that small house. In no time at all, she wriggled through the hole, scurried across the grass, and went right up to the doorway. Uh-oh, it's a puppy dog. His name is Major. She looked into the house. Something brown and furry was sleeping inside. What could it be? The curious little kitten crept closer and closer until... Woof, woof! The brown furry thing woke up. Ooh, was it big! Oh, was it loud! The little kitten could not get out of that yard fast enough. She ran back to her own yard and hid behind the wheelbarrow. She was very frightened and very certain that she would never, never be curious again. Look at their big green eyes. I think those are some marigolds growing back there. They're very pretty. But the very next day, the little kitten found a hole in the low wooden fence. I told you where it needed repair. She looked through it. She could see another yard just like hers. But in that yard was a small round pond. The curious little kitten just had to find out what was in that pond. What do you think is in that pond? Besides red crayon drawings. In no time at all, the little kitten wriggled through the hole, scampered across the grass, and went right up to the edge of the pond. She peered in. Something bright orange and wiggly was down there, under the water. What could it be? The curious little kitten leaned over farther and farther, closer and closer, until... splash! She tumbled in. Ooh, it was cold. Oh, was it wet? She could not get out of that pond fast enough. She could not get out of that yard fast enough. Most kitty cats don't like water. There are a few that do. This little kitten went back to her own yard and found a sunny, dry place to rest. Here in her own yard was where she would stay. Here it was safe. Being curious could only get a kitten into trouble. She would never, never be curious again. Remember that third wall in her yard? That third wall? You think she's not going to be curious again? But the very next day, when she was looking for something to do, the little kitten hopped up to the top of the red brick wall. She only wanted to have a peek. And there was still another yard, just like hers. What was in that yard? She had to find out. In no time at all, the curious little kitten hopped off the wall and landed right in front of... What do you think she's going to find? Another little kitten. Ooh, was she surprised. Oh, was she happy. The curious little kitten could not make friends with that new little kitten fast enough. Sometimes being curious was all right. Sometimes being curious helped a little kitten to find a nice new friend. Somebody must have grabbed the crayon out of my hand, because there's no more drawings on after the fish. No more drawings from bad little Becky. Naughty little Becky. She was a bad actor. Yeah, our cat Alex looked like that. And my cat Dusty, well, he didn't have white on him. He was more orange. This one's more yellow. Do you think this is a female cat friend or a male cat friend? They're all cuddled up together. And that's the end of the book. Thanks for joining me for the Curious Little Kitten. I always really enjoyed this book. As you can see, it's well worn, well loved. I hope you have a wonderful spring day. And get to go outside wherever you are, because it's a beautiful day here. All right, we'll see you in another story. Bye.